Alexis, this seems to be a regular happening now in NASCAR. We set a new record, and it doesn't stand up very long before we have the next closest finish with Larson edging out Chris Buescher.
You know what my initial thoughts were after yesterday, and you'd think I would have maybe had these thoughts before now, because you're right, it is becoming a more regular occurrence that we have these really close finishes on these mile-and-a-half tracks. Is 5 years ago, do we think we would ever have a driver getting out of their car and say, give me more intermediate tracks, give me more 1.5 mile tracks, or fans clamoring, for these races that we used to say, wow, we've got way too many of these tracks on the circuit. Now it's like, give me more, because they are this next gen car, this Gen 7 car, it has some things that we need to work on, and we know what they are: short tracks, road courses, but it shines so bright on these mile-and-a-half tracks and gives us such great finishes. And Kansas was another glowing example of that.
Brad, Alexis has me thinking it used to be the bane of NASCAR's existence, the so-called cookie cutter racetracks, but whatever they're cutting out of the dough right now is really paying off.
Because, like I've said for a long time, look, there was a reason that in 1996 they built Las Vegas Motor Speedway. In 97 they built Texas and Auto Club Speedway. 2001 Kansas Speedway, Chicago Speedway. All of these 1.5 to 2 mile tracks were built in the late 90s and early 2000s because that's what people loved. That's where the great racing was. And the tracks didn't necessarily evolve. Some of them have. But what's really evolved is the race car and the way we do things. And now NASCAR, one of the things they highlighted with this next-gen car, we're going to have a shorter tail section and rear quarter panel, so you don't have this big parachute where drivers are allowed to save the car and all of that, plus all of the other things that they've done underneath aerodynamically. Yeah, to Alexa's point, it's really favored the 1.5 tracks, and now they're back in vogue, which is a really cool thing. But great facilities as well. We're pretty lucky. I mean, look, we've got another one coming up here in just a couple of weeks with the Coca-Cola 600. Looking forward to seeing what happens there. And I'm just kind of happy we have what we have. And 3 finishes this year between Cup and Xfinity measured at 2/1000ths of a second or better. That's incredible.
That's at Atlanta, Texas, and now, of course, Kansas Speedway pays off in a big way with Kyle Larson winning again. His career total is starting to inch on up there, and we still don't have a clear picture of the playoffs. We'll get to that a little bit later on. But setting this up, we had a late race caution involving Kyle Busch. It looked like it was going to go to the wire with a duel between Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr. Everybody decides to pit. They come in. And then that shuffles the deck and allows Larson to make the pass coming off of turn 4. Really not make the pass, but get in position to nose out Chris Buescher at the start-finish line. Obviously, a lot of confusion because NASCAR's official scoring and timing showed that Chris Buescher had won the race, and Larson went through a lot of emotions after he crossed the line.
So I'm going crazy, screaming, banging my head off the headrest, all that, just, going nuts. I'm looking ahead, I'm like Buescher's on the front stretch. I'm like, gosh, I hope they didn't reverse the call or whatever. And I'm over here looking like an idiot.
Alexis, I'm sure you took in the race like most of us did. If you weren't there, you were probably watching it on Fox. What was your initial response when you saw them get to the line?
To be honest, I thought it was Buescher, but I don't know if it's because of what I saw, because, it happened so quickly, or if it's because immediately timing and scoring said, oh, well, it's Buescher. And I've come to, anyway, over the years, trust that, knows down to even a 1,000th of a second that, what is right and what is wrong. Clearly, they needed to go to the tape, if you will, and look at this kind of trick high-resolution photo system that they have that shows exactly where the start-finish line is, takes very high-speed pictures, and they could tell that it was actually Larson by a nose. And the funny thing is that's actually the same technology that they used in the Kentucky Derby the day before.
Brad Gilly, I've learned not to speculate because I thought Ryan Blaney had won the race earlier this year at Atlanta. What were you thinking as you watched them before, that little bit of a delay there till we actually knew that Kyle Larson had won the race?
Well, same as what Alexis said, and a lot of people thought. First I'm looking at it and thinking to myself, you've got to be kidding me. We have another finish this close. And, you watch it and you don't know. You see Fox's replay and things like that. But to Alexis' point, the timing and scoring showed what it showed. And I trust the timing and scoring. I trust that, that those scoring loops were measured exactly 14 and a half feet behind the start-finish line. And this is what we got. But I also trust that NASCAR wanted to make sure they got it right. And I think the moment for me is television cut to a shot of Cliff Daniels on the pit box, and he was like, hang on a second. Like, you could almost see like joy start to bubble up inside of him that, wait, this might not be a second place finish for us. This might actually be a win. And then they declared it, and NASCAR a little while later pushed out that high-speed camera photo finish on social media showing where the line was and the difference between the two of them. What's most important is that they got it right, and I thought it was kind of cool. But the way that went, and to really see the transition of emotions that were going on between the RFK team and their celebration, then their deflation, and then what happened between Kyle Larson's team, and seeing Cliff Daniels up there thinking, wait, we might have this. Everyone hang on just a second. I thought that was really, really cool.
And, of course, we heard from Larson a moment ago, the victor. Here's the vanquished in Chris Buescher.
Thought we had it. Stared at the scoring pylon. RT was celebrating down the backstretch, and don't we feel dumb now? I've seen the photo a couple times. The quality is so bad. I can't see anything. It just, I don't get the scoring saying we got it and then changing up. At this point, I just feel like I'm complaining, but I am. I'm pissed off about it, and to be that close and think you had it. It's not like it was 6 inches and we know we lost it. It really felt like we were in the hunt there.
Closest margin of victory in the history of the NASCAR Cup Series. Brad Gilly, I would like to see from NASCAR incorporated with the TV networks a better way for us to visualize who wins these races. I don't know if you do that with a laser or what works, but something better than what we were given yesterday to look at over and over again. As Alexis, I think, said, blurry images. There's got to be a better way for us to know automatically, because this is going to happen again.
Well, look, a couple of things here. Yes, with the high-speed camera, and that takes pictures at 6,000 to 8,000 frames per second. You see the cars frozen, but you don't see any definition on the track other than the line that they draw. And then when we watch it on television and see the freeze frame, we realize that someone was coloring outside the lines when the start-finish line was repainted. They have to do better with that. And then with the timing and scoring, that should be pretty precision right there. And granted, they were nose to nose, but I think there are a lot of things that need to be looked at, remeasured, to make sure that everything is accurate. Say with the Sam Mayer win at Texas, or with the Daniel Suarez win at Atlanta Motor Speedway, timing and scoring was accurate on that. Now, the difference in those two wins versus yesterday's was 1,000th of a second, but still, I think they need to probably go back and look at not just Kansas, but all of their tracks and make sure things are not in question when they happen.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the biggest thing to take away from yesterday is that they need to figure out a way that timing and scoring is the absolute, right? Because
yes,
that's what everybody's going off of. That's what your broadcasters are going off of. That's what people in the media center are going off of. That's what the teams on pit road are going off of. And I understand you have to have these fail safes like these high speed cameras to go back and say, okay, well, let's double check that. But I have to think that in all cases, timing and scoring has to be the most accurate portrayal of what's happening on the racetrack.
In today's world, with the tech that we have available to us, there is 0.0001 reasons that shouldn't be exact and correct every time. Top 5 at Kansas. Kyle Larson wins again. Chris Buescher, a disappointing second. Chase Elliott, he continues to trend upward, was third. Fourth to Martin Truex Jr. and Denny Hamlin was fifth. Let's give you the Toyota Performance Report. All in all, not a really bad day for the Toyotas. Martin Truex Jr. was fourth. Fifth went to Denny Hamlin. Sixth to Christopher Bell. John Hunter Nemechek, pretty representative day, was 13th. 17th to Bubba Wallace. I thought we'd see more out of him. Tyler Reddick was 20th, and 22nd to Corey Heim. That is our Toyota Performance Report. For the latest Toyota racing information, visit toyotaracing.com. Before we jump off of this, our sample size of Corey Heim and Cup is only a couple of races. Alexis, I'll start with you. Impressed?
Yeah, I mean, certainly he was put into a situation where he wasn't expecting, a kind of last minute thing like, hey, we need you to step up and do this. And he's been able to keep it in one piece, run all the laps. And I think that is, the best education you can have as a rookie in a brand new car.
Brad Gilly, Corey Heim substituting for your main man, Eric Jones. Thoughts?
I'm wildly impressed. And look, there are two drivers right now in the Truck Series, and they finished first and third at Kansas Speedway in the truck race over the weekend. Corey Heim and Christian Eckes, those are two drivers we're going to be talking about for a long time. But to be able to step up, even though you knew you were going to be the relief driver and have done all the simulation all year long and all of that, I give him a lot of credit for, again, like Alexis said, he kept it between the lines, kept his head down, and just put together some great races.